Hello, in this video we will add front-end part for backend REST API, and we will use React for this purpose. So let's create new application using npx create React app, and let's name it React UI. Let's wait till the application is installed. And now we can move to application folder and start this application. Here we use localhost and port 3000. And we can see our default React application. Let's install Axios to use GET and POST request to our REST API. And React Router to make routes for registration and main page. For design, I will use Material UI. There are already prepared components for design, such as buttons, input fields, and so on. So let's clear default app.js file and create new file where we'll import React, use state hook from React, and also import Axios for making GET and POST requests to our REST API. And let's write function. It will be a functional component, and here we use state. We will have the state for the name, and we will use function set name to update this state. So our page will not be reloaded, and using this state webhook we can update data for state name. And we will have output simple form where we can register users. Here we use container to center the data. And let's see other features for Material UI. And we can design our font using typography. That would be header registration text. Let's also add form, and we will have event on submit, and when this function is triggered we will use handle submit function where we will send request to our REST API when the button is clicked, and we prevent default process. We don't want to reload page. We just want to send post request to our REST API without page update, page reload. And here I forgot to add HTTP before localhost, but I will add this later. And here we can use try catch to catch errors in case they emerge. Let's also add standard text field. It will be basic standard field. and we will use value name for in case we update our state using this variable name. And when we change the text field, we will update our state of name. Let's also add a standard button for registration. And we will show our message that we receive from our post request that we send to backend REST API. So I forgot to export this function and add some imports for the default material UI elements such as container, typography, button, and let's import these elements. Here I have added button, so I need also typography text field and container. So everything compiled correctly and we can see our front-end part. And let's start our backend application and try to send our request to backend from React. And here we have error. Our request was blocked due to CORS policy. And if we debug our backend, we will not see that we have received any request. So our request was blocked by CORS policy. In such case, we should add a new configuration to our backend REST API application that will allow sending request from particular address. In this case, we should allow to send request from localhost 3000. And here we added a new class web configuration to our REST API. This will allow to send us request from this address and methods. And we allow all headers from this request. And also add configuration annotation. Let's also start our backend web application and try to send one more request. And here we got our data when we debug our create user method. So we have no longer this error, and we see that the data is inserted in our database. So our REST API works well. We can create users using React. Let's also add roads to our application. So as our registration page will have address localhost 3000/registration, and we will use React Router DOM. Here we surround our registration road within roads, and we will trigger app component due to register address path. And when we input register, we will receive our register component. Let's also add default road for main component and create also main component to our main page. And also create new component main. Here we will use almost the same imports. And let's all in this page, in main page, we will show all our users that we registered. And we will use default list component from Material UI library. And link to the registration page. Here we'll have function main, and we use also useState webhook, where we'll have state of users. And we will use useEffect so as to once the page is loaded, we one time send request to our backend and get all users using GetRequest. This would be like one-time event, and we will update after sending this request. We will update our state for users and insert all our users list in this user state, and then using map we can iterate over these users and show them in a list on the main page. Here we also send get request using Axios and set state for users. We also use try catch in case there occur some errors. And let's also add return part to show our form. Here we can copy React fragment and insert container to centralize our data. Here can divide screen to see both components and compare what I can copy from app.js to main.js. Here we will also use button for the main page from registration, and we use a link for this purpose. And let's also use map to iterate over our users and show them on the main page in the list. And we also will have overflow container that will allow us to scroll on the list of users. And here we use users variable, and we should map over this state and show all users in a list. So we have registration page where we can register, for example, Dave, and on the main page we will have this Dave, and this is all this was done using single page application with backend, Java, REST API, and frontend React.